at the very restricted number of civil society members who have been invited to be part of this very important 10th anniversary Right to Information convention that is being organized by the CIC. This law has been demanded for, used by, and protected by common people of this country. And we had hoped that many more people from across the country, many more RTI users would be part of this very important convention. I hope that in the future, these conventions are made far more open. The Right to Information Act has been one of the most significant and empowering pieces of legislation in independent India. According to figures, we've done studies, anywhere between 4 to 6 million RTI applications are filed every single year. And a study which we undertook, a national study, showed that most of the people who are filing these applications are people who live at the margins, are the poorest of the poor. These are people who file RTI applications to access their very, very basic and fundamental rights like rations, like pensions, healthcare, education. These are people who file RTI applications to hold the government accountable wherever they might be and have been successfully able to do so. They have established the extremely important link between the right to information and the right to be able to access their other entitlements, their other rights, whether it is minimum wages or it is the right to education. We heard during this session and in some of the sessions before also some of the concerns about misuse of the law, about how many times applications are being filed which might be frivolous, vexatious. In our study, one of the things that we looked at, we analyzed more than 20,000 RTI applications, a sample of 20,000 applications across the country, to look at what are the sorts of information that people are seeking. Even on a very, very liberal interpretation of frivolous and vexatious, we are actually at a complete loss of how to interpret these terms. We don't believe these terms can be defined. Any information that is sought which troubles a vested interest can be marked as vexatious. So all RTI applications effectively can be termed vexatious. But we tried to give a very, very liberal interpretation of the term frivolous, vexatious, and we looked at 20,000 RTI applications across the country. We found less than 1% RTI applications that could be termed frivolous or vexatious. On the other hand, we found scores of RTI applications which were pleas for help. There were women who were saying that they were widows, had applied for Anganwadi jobs 14 years ago. And when the RTI Act came, they were asking what happened to my application. I'm still waiting to hear. Old people asking that they had applied for some subsidized housing scheme and had been told that they had got it but were still waiting for their possession letters to reach them, asking the government whether it was finally ever going to reach them and if yes, by when. These were the kind of RTI applications that we found in the samples repeatedly coming. And far from being vexatious, most of these applications were pleading for help. They were basically saying, please, could you kindly let us know when we can get our ration card? Could you please let us know when our subsidized house letter will reach us? It is in this context that I thought Mr. Azad had very comprehensively listed out the challenges. Mr. Karthikeyan also did that in the implementation of the RTI Act. But what does it really mean for people on the ground? When we say Section 4 implementation is not as good as it should be, proactive disclosure is not happening as well as it should happen, what does it mean for the poor? For the poor, for the unlettered in our country, it's extremely difficult to go every time to a government office, file an application, follow it up with a first appeal when they don't get the information, and finally go for a second appeal to a commission. Figures suggest that 5%, I heard somebody say 1.8% of the applications finally reach commissions. Unfortunately, figures that we have collected in our studies don't show that the rest of the 95% people got the information. It's just that very few people who don't get information are actually able to go up, have the resources to be able to go up to the commissions finally. And these are people who need information the most. Our analysis has shown that more than 70% of RTI applications being filed ask for information that should have been proactively provided by the government. In fact, 18% is information that did not even need the Right to Information Act to be provided, simply decisions that the government had to take. This information, because it is not being provided, is having to be sought by people. This information, because it is not put up on boards in public authorities, is having to be sought by people who are the poorest of the poor and the most marginalized. So it is they who have to bear the cost of poor implementation of Section 4. And of course, public authorities also have to bear this cost, because if 70% of the applications that are being filed today could have been avoided simply by putting out Section 4 disclosures, proactive disclosures, a majority of these people would have never reached the public authorities with a right to information application in the first place. Our study showed, we looked at more than 80 public authorities across the country. In 65% of the cases, there was not a single board in the public authorities' premises to even give basic information about the right to information, like the name of the public information officer or the contact details. This is the state of public disclosure of information by the government. And here I must add that while we talk of digital India, we also cannot ignore the digital divide. Today, if in our country we say that the responsibility of the government ends at simply putting information in the public domain through websites, we are mistaken. That information will still remain inaccessible to people who need it the most. Boards, other means of putting information across in the public domain are absolutely necessary, and every step must be taken by public authorities and monitored by information commissions across the country to ensure that this is done. We recently did an audit, the National Campaign for People's Right to Information, of the websites also of the Chief Minister's offices and the Prime Minister's office. These were 30 websites that we audited, and it's a deep regret that we have to say that only in 4 of these websites was some information given on Section 4.1b. All other websites of the CMOs, including the Prime Minister's office, does not have the requisite information on 4.1b. So when we say that governments need to be serious about pushing the agenda for proactive disclosure, if the highest offices in the states and the country do not do it, they need to lead by example. Decisions and basis of decisions are extremely important for people to know. Yesterday we did a public hearing in which an 80-year-old woman came, and she said that her pension was stopped suddenly 3 years ago. And when her pension was stopped, she was not informed that her pension is being stopped. She was also not informed why her pension was not being stopped. With some help, she reached the public authority, filed an RTI application, and the response that she got was, "Aapki pension band kar di gayi hogi." She had to travel all the way to the Central Information Commission through the First Appellate Authority, and this took more than 2 years for her to do. And till she actually reached there, her pension was not continued. It was after that particular appeal was heard that the pension was started, but the compensation that she was given is still not being given to her. In fact, the Delhi government has taken her to court, saying that why should we give you your pension? So she was there yesterday saying that I do not understand what sort of justice this law can get for me. I think these are issues that we need to squarely answer if we believe that this is a people's law. Mr. Azad, I think, mentioned before me, so I don't need to repeat it, that in our law, the place of the information commissions is absolutely unparalleled. They are supposed to work on behalf of people. In this sort of a situation, when we talk of the alarming pendencies which have been discussed right now, our report found that in Madhya Pradesh, it takes 60 years, more than 60 years for a hearing to come up. In West Bengal, it takes close to 18 years for a hearing to come up. In 9 states, these are findings of our report. I'm very happy to discuss them. All our methodology, all our information is in the public domain. In 9 states of the country, more than 1 year pendency. Now, people who are becoming homeless because they're not getting their pensions, people who don't have food to feed their children because they're not getting their pensions, cannot wait for these long periods of time for justice to prevail. Information delayed is information denied. मैं आपको मेथोडोलॉजी बता सकती हूँ. हमने 2 साल.
Can I request? Let her speak. Then we have a question after.
Yes, I'm very happy to discuss the methodology. Since this has been brought up, let me just state, in the interest of transparency, that this particular delay was calculated on the basis of 2 years disposal rates. We took the amount of the number of cases that were disposed of over 2 years. We took an average, and then we looked at the pendency and arrived at these rates. We have all the figures which we are very happy to share and discuss. They are already in the public domain. And one of the reasons, since we have brought this up and I meant to mention it, is that the number of information commissioners that need to be in the information commissions in the states and at the center is not there. The law already puts a cap on the number of information commissions. Unfortunately, governments are not even appointing the requisite number of information commissioners, and we find huge vacancies across the country. There are many states, including Madhya Pradesh, for the period of our study, which went without any information commission. And I think you will not be able to deny that, because the fact is that when there are not information commissioners in the commission, that commission cannot possibly hear orders, that cannot dispose the cases in front of them. The Central Information Commission itself was without a chief for a period of 9 months, which was unprecedented. This renders the law ineffective for people. We are undertaking currently a study on the quality of orders of information commissions. Some of our preliminary findings suggest that a big problem, and I think it has already been mentioned by one of the speakers before, is the deficiencies in the way the orders are written. More than 50% of the orders are deficient. They do not record basic things like the date of the right to information, the date the right to information application was filed, the date on which response was given, if any, the date on which the first appellate authority gave their response. These dates are just missing. They are not reasoned orders. And the result again, which is because we are interested in all of these figures and all of this analysis simply because we want to understand what does it mean for the people of this country. The result is that the person who has taken the trouble of finally reaching the commission and waiting for the number of years that they had to for the hearing, even at the end of the hearing when they get the order, do not know the basis of decision in that order. There is no public accountability, therefore, of how the commission arrived at the decision that they did. We see a huge trend, it's a very unfortunate trend, but we see a trend of a lot of information commission's orders being challenged in courts. In the court, the commissions are not party. And then a Sumitra Devi, who I talked about, has to stand there, and there is nothing in the order, and the court has no option but to set it aside or put a stay on it. And I think that this is something which is very, very concerning, can be corrected very easily just by putting in a format, saying that these are the basic minimum things that need to go into any order that is passed by the commission. There are many other problems. Section 6379 being illegally used to deny information have already been talked about by Mr. Karthikeyan. Information on third-party not being given, information which is sub judice simply because it is sub judice, simply because it is under investigation not being given, which is not at all permissible under the law. But I think most importantly, and I do want to come to this contentious issue, is the issue of penalties. Our study has shown that in more than 96% of the cases where penalties should have been imposed, they were imposable because there were clear delays and no reasonable cause has been recorded for those delays. Penalties have not been imposed in 96% of the cases where they were imposable. Now we are constantly told that penalties ke piche mat bhagiye. We are not interested in penalties for the sake of penalties. Penalties are a signal. When penalties are not imposed, they send out a signal to the public information officer that violation of the law is fine. And we see that there is an increasing culture of impunity that is setting in because penalties are not being imposed by commissions. People are having to come back without information when they file applications because a lot of public information officers now tell them that kuch nahi hoga, aap kahin bhi chale jaiye, commission bhi chale jaiye. Now this is a reality which we cannot wish away. And therefore we feel that the commissions need to seriously consider how they want to make penalty imposition an inherent part. And show cause notices have to be served under the law where there is a clear obligation on the part of the commissions to impose penalties where there is no reasonable delay. Another problem that we are finding is non-compliance with the orders of the information commissions. We understand that there are problems, but we feel that a lot can still be done if the information commissions decide to at least monitor and enforce the orders that they have passed. There is no monitoring. So somebody who gets an order basically gets told that you shall be given information within 15 days. But after 15 days, if they don't get information, they have to come back in a fresh appeal and stand at the end of the queue and wait for another few years for their case to be heard. This sort of problem can be avoided. We have suggested a few things, but this again needs to be looked at by the commissions very carefully. Finally, I think we were very happy to hear the Prime Minister mentioning that for real change to come about, there needs to be an analysis of the right to information applications that are being filed by people. The right to information applications that come to a public authority can be a barometer for the public authority if they're taken seriously. Each of the right to information applications, in India we are having the largest number globally of RTI applications being filed, and we are told that it is because there are a lot of problems that people are otherwise not able to resolve. They're coming in the Right to Information Act to seek information about them. If the public authority analyzes these applications and puts out, first of all the information that is coming out in the public domain, which people repeatedly ask for, if it's permissible, and then puts in place proper policies, proper structures and proper systems to ensure that the problems that are getting highlighted in the public authorities functioning through the information that is being sought, I think that is the only thing that can lead to final systemic change that the Right to Information Act had hoped to bring about, and I think has the great potential to bring about. And which is why we agree that so far the Right to Information Act has been used very vibrantly, but there is a huge potential that still remains to be tapped. And if we want to use it to bring about systemic change, the only way to do it is that these people are giving feedback to the public authorities through the information that they're seeking. I'm not getting my pension, I'm not getting education in my primary school, I don't get medicines when I go to my health facility. All of this can be great eye-openers for the public authority if they are treated seriously and acted upon. More than 40 people in our country have lost their lives in the last 5 years simply because they were asking for information. I think Section 4 disclosures are something that must be viewed in this context as well. We have been advocating and demanding an effective whistleblowers protection law which would protect people against victimization. If they're seeking information and using it to expose corruption. But simultaneously, unless there is Section 4 disclosures, proactive disclosures, people will have to come forward. They will be targeted when they ask for information that they need to fight corruption. An anti-corruption grievance redress framework is needed at the 10th anniversary of the Right to Information Act. If we look forward, people want a way by which when they access information, they get justice. When they access information at great peril, they file applications. There has to be proper investigation of cases of corruption. The Lokpal law and the Whistleblowers Protection Law have not been implemented for the last 1.5 years. In fact, in the Parliament, there are now bills to dilute both the laws, which is really a big pity and a huge loss. When we keep saying that the Right to Information Act is being used to redress grievances, what we have been saying is that the government needs to immediately put in place grievance redress systems in every department. And in fact, a grievance redress law was in Parliament. It lapsed with the ending of the last Lok Sabha. It needs to be reintroduced. And that is the only way, when there is an effective time-bound redress of people's grievances directly, and their complaints don't go into a black hole, that people will stop relying on the RTI to access that information and take their complaints forward. I'll stop here. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Ms. Bhardwaj. Now you know why I spoke first. And I leave it to Mr. Jain now to field. He has a lot to answer for.